A pages animation, Tableau looks at one data point at a time. And this leads to problems when we want to animate the moving averages. After all, to calculate the moving average, we need to look at whatever number days we specified in the average window size parameter. So I've created, to illustrate how this goes wrong, I've created a new visualization that shows the moving average for Hillsborough. I've set the average window size to monthly, and now I will drag event date into pages, set that to the way we want it, probably set the history on, right, trails, and I'll start animating it from the beginning. And what you see is that compared to the daily averages that we wanted for the month, this is too spiky. Essentially, what it is tracing is the number of daily cases. Now, in order to solve this, what we need to do is first save the data and then add that data to the data source. So in this particular case, I have created a visualization that shows me the day of the event, and then the measure values. I will set this back to weekly. So now we get the moving averages, the weekly moving averages for the three counties. In order to save this, I go to export, and I have two options, namely data, which will save it as a .csv file, moving averages, or export cross-tab to Excel, which will save it as an Excel file. And the reason I wanted to do both is to show you the difference between the two. So here are the moving averages files. So if I look at the .csv file first, I've associated Excel with it so I can look at it in Excel. Then you see that this is not really all that useful when it comes to adding this to the data source. After all, it gives me the date, then the measure name, and then the measure value, which is not really not what I want. On the other hand, if I open up the Excel file, and it makes it very big, so I'm going to make this smaller, then what you see, this is closer to what we want, in that I do have the measure names, and I do have the dates. Problem, of course, is that the orientation is the wrong way around, in the sense that I want the dates to be rows, and I want these measures to be columns. Well, that's easy enough to solve, so we create a new sheet, which we'll call moving averages. Then we go back to the original sheet, we copy the four rows that we want, we go to the other sheet, and now we transpose it. So we do the space transpose. And now it looks more or less the way we want it to be. We need to do some tidying up, so we can get rid of this row, and then we probably want to change this to just Hillsborough. And Pasco, and Pinellas. All right. And then we'll save this. And we go back to our Tableau data source. And we add the moving averages. Here we go. And now we can drag moving averages, the sheet we just named, into the data source. Well, that's going to give us some problems, because we first have to change the F1 to a date, and we might as well give it a better name. right? And now we can create the link between Hillsborough on event date and date in the moving averages file we just loaded. And now what I can do is I can create a new worksheet. You see the moving averages here, so I'm going to do date, reset that to the way we want it, and then add Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Pull these together into a single visualization. Change the way in which they show as a circle again. Drag the event date into pages. Reset it. And then we show, the show history is on. And then I can just play it again. And now what you will see is what we, I set the trails off, all trails. And now what you will see is that we do get the weekly averages. In other words, if I remove this, the thing doesn't really change. The drawback, of course, is that now the parameter is hardwired. So I can't change this anymore. I can't change the average window size anymore on this particular visualization. But if you have any data that rely on a window size, then the only way in which you can animate that is through Pages animation, is by saving it first, then loading that back as fixed values, and then you can animate it because you now have just regular values.